Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. We are moving on to item 4.1, reconvene to open session and call to order. And it is 6:01. Please be advised that a recording is being made at the direction of the board and capturing images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Item 4.2, report of actions taken in closed session. There were none. Item 4.3, attendance roll call. President Rothberg Allen is absent. Clerk Reed here. Trustee Lopez Jones, Trustee Rios, Trustee Gonzalez, and Student Representative Clavel is absent. Okay. All right. 4.4, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. .5 District Mission Statement. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. Item 5, public comment on open session items. 5.1, public business from the floor, non-agenda items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that is not on the agenda. Without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the public. Your matter may be referred to administration. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any comments? Okay. Item 6, recognition. 6.1, recognitions. The Board of Trustees recognizes students, employees, or members of the community who have received recognition for academic or athletic achievement or who have made significant contributions of any kind to the district. The following individuals will be recognized. The Calistoga Joint Unified School District Employees of the Year. Heather Brooks, CJSHS and CJUSD Teacher of the Year. Yay. Katie Coop, CES Teacher of the Year. Yay. Christine Guerrama, CES CJUSD and INCO Paraprofessional Services. Yay. Maria Ursula, CJSHS CJUSD and INCO Clerical or Administrative Services. Yay. Jesus Savina, CJUSD and INCO Skilled Trade Services. Michael?
Yeah, so this is one of our favorite parts of the year, favorite times of the year, where we get to recognize some of our most deserving staff. And I'll just say our certificated and our classified staff do some of the most meaningful work in this district. Our teachers who are responsible for the instruction of our students, our paraprofessionals who are responsible for making sure our students get that individualized and small group instruction and support that they need. Our secretarial staff who are often the first face that our families see when they come to our districts and who are responsible for making sure that our offices and really our school sites run efficiently. And our custodians and maintenance technicians who are responsible for making sure that our campuses are in good condition and that they're welcoming places for our kids. So we're going to start tonight and take some time to honor each of these employees and have their supervisors have a chance to say some words. And we're going to start with Calistoga Elementary School. And tonight we're going to recognize Christine Guadarrama. She is the District Paraprofessional of the Year. She was also chosen by Napa County Office of Education as the County Office of Education. Yeah, feel free.
There we go. All right, so I'd like to share some of the thoughts and staff feedback that we got on Christine. And I'm really excited that she's not only representing Calistoga Elementary, that she is also representing Napa County as well. And so she has been an employee at Calistoga Elementary for 18 years. She's served in roles in both special education and general education. I've had the privilege of working with her at Calistoga Elementary School for the past 9 years. And as I said in my letter, I can confidently attest to her exceptional skills, unwavering dedication, and positive impact on our school community. She always goes above and beyond in her role at Calistoga Elementary. Christine is always willing to lend a helping hand, and she takes on additional responsibilities without complaint. Her work ethic and commitment to her job are commendable. This year, we have taken on implementing structured literacy during our learning acceleration block, where we divide our students up and have them have their literacy needs met in small group instruction. And so Christine is now pushing in first, second, and third grade classes. Once a month, she attends training and best practices in reading instruction. And in classroom observations, she is masterful in working with small groups, taking them through reading foundation routines. Besides her strong work ethic, Christine is also a team player. And she's always willing to collaborate with her colleagues, and she's always looking for ways to improve the school experience for our students. This year, we've had some challenges in our student behavior, and she's always effective in her communication and willing to support behavior intervention strategies. Christine is a mentor and truly has a heart for others. Many mornings, she will be in the staff room with other paraeducators playing music, decorating, and contributing to the overall health and wellness of the school. The environment of the staff room is inviting, and having that shared moment of celebration goes a long way for staff starting their day. Christine is an asset to our school, and I believe, and I wrote here at the time because we were having her be considered for Napa County Office of Education's choice. So I wrote, I believe she'd be an excellent choice for NCOE Classified Employee of the Year, which I'm glad she got. And I said, I urge you to give her nomination your strongest consideration. So that is how wonderful it is to have Christine at our site. And we got a little, do we have, yeah, come on down. We got a little.
Photo.
Do I do the next? Okay.
So next, we'd like to honor Katie Coop. And Katie Coop is an exemplary teacher and most deserving of the Teacher of the Year recognition for Calistoga Elementary School.
And so Calistoga Elementary School is pleased to have Katie Coop represent Calistoga Elementary School as Teacher of the Year. Katie's dedication, passion, and innovative teaching methods have had an impact on her students and the entire school community. She consistently goes above and beyond to create an engaging and supporting learning environment. Her lessons are thoughtfully planned, incorporating diverse learning styles and encouraging critical thinking. Often when I go into her classroom, we see students engaged in student-to-student talk, often in pairs or in triads where they're working through math or in English language arts. She has an ability to connect with each student, fostering their individual growth and confidence. And this year, she's been instrumental in implementing structured literacy. She also took on a student teacher this year and worked to support his learning as he embarked on his career. Katie is a collaborative colleague and a valuable asset to our team. She's always willing to share her expertise and contribute to school-wide initiatives. Her enthusiasm for education is infectious, inspiring both in students and fellow educators alike. She is highly supportive of the school culture and will help organize events like baby showers and employee recognitions. And we are so pleased that Katie is representing Calistoga Elementary School as Teacher of the Year. Come on down.
Next, we're going to recognize Maria Urzua. Maria, who is a bilingual site secretary at the junior senior high school. She was chosen as the district employee of the year for administrative services and clerical and administrative services. She was also chosen by Napa County Office of Education as the county employee of the year.
So exciting. Unfortunately, Mr. Sewell is unable to be here tonight, and but I did share with her I was going to read a little bit of what I submitted to the county. Mr. Sewell goes above and beyond to help our Calistoga school community by providing a welcoming environment in our school office. As the attendance technician, health tech, and registrar, Ms. Ursua is the first person guests meet in our office, and she does so with professionalism and kindness. She supports our school community with a multitude of needs and has the ability to multitask and stay focused despite the ever-consistent demands of the office. Apart from daily attendance demands, Ms. Ursua also takes on the larger tasks that she organizes with detail and efficiency. Our staff shared many of the same sentiments about who Ms. Ursua is and how she supports our school community every day. Maria is a magician in the office. She can juggle multiple jobs simultaneously while keeping a welcoming and pleasant smile. I don't know how she doesn't get flustered with all the chaos that happens in the office, so she is a superstar in my books. Miss Owens, PE teacher and athletic director. No matter how hectic the front office gets with students and parents continuously flowing through, Maria somehow always miraculously stays calm and gets to everyone that needs assistance. Miss Probst, math teacher. Maria has been so welcoming to me as a new staff member of CJSHS. Even though I know she is extremely busy, she always makes time to answer my many questions and has really made me feel like a part of the team here on campus. Miss Pimsler, math teacher. It can be really hard to transition to a new school in the middle of the year, but Maria has made me feel welcome and supported from the beginning. Her diligence helps keep me on track as a teacher, and I am very grateful for her presence on the campus. Mr. Gill, social science teacher. Her relationships with our district's parents and community members are built on trust, respect, and her radiant positivity. Maria is the backbone of our school's spirit. Monica Garibay, Community and Family Liaison. It is with great honor I present Ms. Ursua, although she's absent today, Employee of the Year for our county and our district.
Next, we'd like to honor Heather Brooks. Heather Brooks is the Teacher of the Year from Calistoga Junior Senior High School. She was also chosen as the District Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, Ms. Brooks.
I have worked with Ms. Brooks for the last 8 years, and I believe she is one of the most outstanding teachers I have ever worked with in my 25 years of education. What sets Ms. Brooks above others is her dedication to empower her students with knowledge and passion for how the process of learning, specifically in the sciences, has the potential to change lives. This was most vividly demonstrated with her involvement and collaboration with MIT during the 23-24 school year. Ms. Brooks offered a new course, Inventing Smart Solutions, connecting computer science and sustainable design, inventing. Her goal and vision to bring this inventing course to our school demonstrates her passion and drive to provide our students with access to curriculum that both empowers and instills in students the possibility of becoming a science expert by creating inventions that will positively impact our community. The first of the inventions focused on our local firefighters and the impact the local fires had on our community. Students conducted interviews with local firefighters to determine what their on-the-job needs and demands were and how they could possibly be improved. Through the interview process, students determined that creating a device that could measure the firefighter's body temperature and then cool the body would help protect the health and lives of firefighters. Students use the investigative steps and process called invention education by collecting data and evidence needed to create a functional device with the goal of helping support the firefighters who protect our community. Through the invention process, the local Calistoga firefighters became regular guests in the classroom, helped provide feedback on the functionality and practicality of the device. Students then took that feedback and evidence provided by the firefighters, made adjustments to the device, culminating in the goal of presenting the device at the MIT Convention Conference in the spring of 2024. A second device was focused on supporting the agriculture workers in our community. The same invention education process was used to create a device to support our agriculture workers, given they work in extreme weather conditions, impacting their health and well-being. This device had a different purpose than the device for the firefighters, but the same desired outcome of cooling the body and hot weather temperatures. Students invited family members and other community members in the agriculture industry to provide feedback and input on how the device could help improve the body temperature while working. This invention group conducted most, if not all, of the interviews in Spanish, which allowed for the guests to provide input in their native language and validate their needs and concerns as members of our community, with the students who were working to find a solution to the challenge. In observing these conversations, students were engaging in bilingual conversations, both with agricultural workers and their English-only speaking classmates. The bilingual students were able to share their language assets with others in the class and help provide valuable information for the success of the cooling device. This device was also presented to MIT in the spring of 2024 with great success. These inventions would not have been possible without the guidance and vision of Ms. Brooks, who led the investigative process and continuously supports her students to believe in new possibilities for their future. Congratulations, Ms. Brooks.
And lastly, certainly not least, Jesus Avina is being recognized as the district and county employee of the year for skilled trade services. Before we say a few words, I'd just like to point out that every classified employee that we nominated to the county this year was chosen as the county employee of the year. I think it speaks volumes about our classified staff in this district. Okay, so I am Mr. Chris Oakes, Director of Facilities tonight. So Chris has sent me some words and I'm going to read them unedited. It says, "Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be here in person tonight, but I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to speak about and celebrate an amazing employee and an even more incredible person, Jesus Avina. If you're part of the Calistoga community, you likely know him, or you at least heard the name. Jesus is truly one of those individuals who makes Calistoga such an amazing place to live and to work. As his supervisor for the past 9 years, I can tell you firsthand that Jesus is known for being incredibly easygoing and consistently one of the hardest workers you'll ever meet. It's a rare combination and it makes him exceptionally effective. I often describe him as even-keeled and solution-oriented, and he possesses a remarkable ability to approach challenges with a smile and a positive attitude, even faced with complex and urgent situations. He doesn't get flustered. He's calm and helps create a productive environment for everyone around him. This is truly invaluable in our line of work where unexpected issues often arise. What truly sets Jesus apart is his consistent willingness to go the extra mile. He doesn't simply fulfill his job duties. He consistently goes above and beyond to support the staff throughout the district. His dedication is evident in his availability outside the normal working hours, demonstrating a remarkable commitment to his work and a genuine desire to ensure the success of our schools and everyone in them. Beyond his regular responsibilities, he often mentors new maintenance and custodial staff, ensuring they quickly integrate into their roles and become effective team members. Jesus is always happy to assist others, offering his help with a smile and a positive attitude. Jesus is more than just a dedicated employee. He is a big part of this community. His roots run deep in Calistoga. His daughters, and his wife were all graduates of Calistoga High School, demonstrating his family's longstanding and deep connection to this town. He's also a familiar face beyond the school grounds, actively involved in our community. Previously served on the Chamber of Commerce and even owned a local business, furthering his demonstration to the commitment of Calistoga's well-being. In summary, Jesus is an exceptionally hard worker, a creative problem solver, a dedicated community member, and an all-around great individual. He makes Calistoga proud. We are incredibly fortunate to have him as part of the school district in our community. Please join me in expressing our sincere gratitude for Jesus Avina and for his outstanding contributions. Like I said, one of our favorite nights of the year. All these staff are so deserving. So thank you for coming out to support them. Congratulations and thank you to our employees. One last round of applause for all of them.
Can we, Michael?
Yeah.
Before you move on, can we get a picture of everybody together?
Yeah, where do you want to go? Usually we go there, but that big screen thing. Yeah, we want to go out? You want to go out there? Yeah. let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna be, yes.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Yes, the principal should be in it.
Yeah, so we'll be right back.
And if you only came for the portion, we will not be offended when you leave after the photo.
Pictures galore. I don't know. I don't know. They're just coming in.
Can you? Okay, great. Okay, so that was a lovely experience as it is every year. Really proud of our staff and faculty doing such a great job for the district. Yay. And that brings us to item 7, information. 7.1, board policies and administrative regulations, first reading. The following board policy is presented for a first reading in order to reflect new and current laws, regulations, and district practices. Board policy 6154, homework, home learning, and makeup work. That's you, Michael.
Okay, so you have the attached board policy around homework practices for first read attached to the agenda. I'm going to do a presentation for you tonight along with that. Just to start off with why we're here, why are we updating the policy? We had a request from the board last school year to look into our homework practices, and then kind of fortuitously in September of 2024, the state legislature passed a law, AB 2999, the Healthy Homework Act, which sets some new expectations around homework. And then also our policy is somewhat outdated, 2020. It has some positive elements, but also lacks some alignment with the new research, best practices, and certainly the recommendations from the Healthy Homework Act. And so we look at what information did we use to form the new policy, and just say we started with our current policy. What can we keep from it? What's working from our current policy? We took a hard look at the Healthy Homework Act and what it was trying to accomplish and what it was recommending. We did surveys around with Thought Exchange, and you're familiar with Thought Exchange. It's a really great platform, it's a superior platform when it comes to sending out, an electronic survey. And we surveyed our staff, our parents and guardians, and our students. And I won't go through all those numbers, they're there, but you can see there was a lot of participation, right? In total, 196 participants in the surveys, 153 unique thoughts, and almost 2,500 ratings. So it's literally thousands of data points. So I think we certainly got robust stakeholder feedback. And then we looked at some of the research around homework best practices. So that was all the information that we looked at to put the policy together. And to look at the Healthy Homework Act a little more in depth, what it's trying to do is look to reduce student stress and promote well-being by looking at homework practices that are research-based and put an emphasis on mental health and physical health of our students. It emphasizes the need for stakeholder feedback. It addresses the need for a consideration around equity, understanding that students have different access to technology, parental supports, trying to prevent a homework gap between students that have more advantages than others. And lastly, it encourages us to, once you develop a policy, well, in here it says develop a policy by 27-28. To note, this is not a mandate. Districts are not required to create a new policy, are encouraged to do so by 2027-28. And we thought with the timing of the board's interest in a new policy, why wait? Let's do it now. Lots of stakeholder feedback, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'll point out some themes. The first theme is that there was what Thought Exchange calls a lack of alignment or disagreement. There was a lot of disagreement within groups and across groups. And I think it makes sense. Homework is something that I think everyone has an opinion about. Whether you're an educator or a parent or a student, right? We all have an opinion about homework. And so there were a lot of disagreements. How much impact, educational impact does homework have? How much should we be giving? What's the role of the parents when it comes to homework? Should homework be graded or ungraded, right? These are all things that we got a wide range of opinions about. One to point out in particular that was interesting was the impact on well-being, which is really what the Healthy Homework Act is getting at. What we saw there was there was not a large group of folks from the parent guardian surveys or the teacher surveys that were concerned about the connection between well-being and homework. It just didn't come out of those surveys, and we asked directly. So that's interesting. And then we asked the students, and there was a kind of a resounding and unanimous concern around this issue. And to be clear, our students weren't saying, when we did our focus group with the high school leadership students, we surveyed them and also kind of did some conversation. And they weren't saying we don't want homework. They weren't saying homework doesn't have value. They didn't say any of that. They said the opposite. But they did say the quantity of homework that we're getting combined with the out of school activities that we have is overwhelming and is certainly causing an impact on our well-being. But there was disagreement, right? I think between that group and what we saw in the other surveys. There was also quite a bit of common ground. Homework is important and has value. Pretty much everyone in this survey, or certainly the great majority, said that homework has value, whether it's an educational impact or whether it's in learning to be responsible and have good study skills. Reading at home is essential. Reading outside of school is essential to build your language and literacy skills, especially at the younger grades. Homework should be intentional and well-planned. And there was a lot of agreement, there was the term busy work came up a lot. We don't want that, right? I think there was common agreement that we want in homework to be intentional and well-planned. If we're going to give it, that's what it should look like. And then lastly, I put these together, homework completion concerns and student extracurricular activities. We saw concerns around our students completing their homework, and then we saw concerns around, we know that students have a lot going on outside of school that's valuable and important. And, how do we combine those two things? We need students to do homework, but we know they have a lot going on after school. So what stays the same? These are things in our current policy that will remain in the new policy. Homework supports student learning, right? We're going to continue to have homework in this district. There was concern raised that we don't want a no homework school policy. And it's a fair concern to raise because there are school districts throughout the state at the elementary level specifically that have turned to no homework policies. But I think this is where stakeholder engagement comes in. We did not see that from any group that we surveyed. Nobody wanted a no homework policy. And you're going to see that it's going to remain as a part of our practice. Communication with families. We've always had this in our policy that teachers are expected to communicate homework expectations at the start of the year. There's a new expectation in this policy that not only will they communicate it, they'll communicate the amount of time that they think their students should be spending. So it's a teacher in their syllabus might say 30 minutes a night is the general expectation. That way a parent knows if they're running into 2 hours a night, something's not working. And that's the time to go see your teacher and see something's not working in my household for my child. What should we do? Credit for late makeup work in the old policy and remains. The district continues to encourage homework support programs within and outside the day, and teacher discretion is valued. It's in the old policy, it's in the new policy, and it's really important. Our teachers are the ones who are closest to our students. They know what our students need to move forward in their academic progress, what type of homework, how much homework, and that is still valued in both policies. So important changes. One, meaningful and achievable assignments. It calls out directly that when we assign homework, it should be aligned with standards and learning goals. It should not be busy work. It should be intentionally aligned with learning goals. It should be coordinated across subjects. This is really important for especially grades 5 through 12. When students have multiple teachers, those teachers need to be communicating, and we do have some ideas how to support teachers in that regard. But if 3 teachers unknowingly give a big project to a student on the same day, that may make it impossible for that student to complete 3 large projects. And no harm was intended, but if we're not talking to each other, we need to have some system to coordinate especially our large homework projects, and designed to be completed independently without parent support. That's important to call that out. Our parents are not teachers. It's important that they're involved in understanding what their students are learning at home, but they should not be required to do teaching at home. Equity and supports for all students calls out that our students do have very diverse home environments and after school responsibilities, and it's something that we have to take into account when we assign homework. And it prioritizes well-being. So this is the first time that comes up in our homework policy, and that's important that we now call that out. And also flexible grading. It speaks to the fact that the teacher may choose to have a homework assignment graded or ungraded. That's within the teacher's discretion, and that we know we have flexible deadlines to accommodate for student needs. There's an emphasis on timely feedback. If we give homework, we need to give students feedback. That's part of the important communication loop that needs to happen when we assign work. Teacher autonomy is maintained, and ongoing communication and scheduled policy review. We want to make sure that this new policy is widely published, that parents understand it and know it, and that we have a plan to come back and review it at least once every 5 years. So next steps. So today we do a reading for the board, and then we will send out, because we went out to our stakeholders with a request for input, we're going to go back out with a form, with a survey. It's a very simple 1-question survey, and say, based on the new policy, what comments do you have? And that'll go out this week. We've been working to make sure it's translated, that all the materials that you have there are translated into Spanish, but we'll send that out this week, and we'll start to get that public comment. It will be anonymous. It won't be even categorized by student, teacher, guardian, parent. Just feedback. We will then come back at the next board meeting and we'll share that feedback with you. And depending on what we get, if we may bring the same policy or a slightly updated policy to you for approval, or if we get feedback that really makes us pause, we may take some time to really revise it and bring that policy back to you in June. And then the policy goes into effect next school year. This is not a this year policy. It goes into effect for 25-26. Next year, we will focus on making sure we support teachers with this transition to the new policy. And then by June 2030, we'll go through a review process with stakeholders to say, how did this policy change work? So that is our presentation. Any questions that you have for me?
Thank you. That's a lot of work went into this. I appreciate it. It's very detailed and look forward to seeing what revisions come our way, if any.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll come back at the next meeting next month. We'll bring the feedback to you, stakeholder feedback, and then we'll see what it says and where we go from there. Thank you.
Okay, 7.2 dual language immersion exploration update.
Good evening. I just wanted to give an update. Since the last regular board meeting, we had a survey that we put out to our families that was co-crafted with CAT leadership. We had a board study session, and then we had a restorative circle with that was open to staff and families. And so in terms of the parent survey results, and this will be posted on our board after tonight, we received 91 surveys back, 60 in English and 31 in Spanish. If there were any duplicates, those were removed. They're not counted. So these are one survey per family that responded. We have a total of 483 families within our district, so that's an 18.8% response rate. The majority of the families that responded have students at the elementary school, and that's 299 families, so that's a 27.4% response rate. There were 9 responses that had 0 students at CES. Otherwise, all other responses had children that were at CES. I'm not going to go line by line, but there's a range from 17 TK families to 2 12th grade families that responded, and then there's ups and downs throughout each grade. The results of the 2 surveys put together were 75.8% of the families who've completed the survey fully support the opt-in model of dual language immersion. 9.9% want more Spanish, but not through dual language immersion. And 14.3% are content with the current model of 40 minutes per week per grade level at the elementary school. So what does this mean? So I still think that we need to move forward in terms of finding out more information. And so I'd like us to hold another study session to actually look at what an implementation plan could look like in terms of financial cost, human resource, and time, because that will give you the information that you need to make a decision on whether or not you want to say no or whether or not you want to say yes before we close out the school year. So those will be our next steps. The board study session will be sometime in May, giving you an opportunity to make a final decision in June.
Great. Any questions?
Just want to clarify that whatever decision is made in June, it will not be implemented in August, correct?
That is correct. It
Okay.
will not be implemented until at least 1 year out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. And now on to item 8, reports. And the first up is the student representative. Do we have a report from her?
We do.
Okay, great.
She is unable to be here tonight, but she sent in her report, which I will read. I don't read it with as much enthusiasm as she does, but hopefully you can hear her excitement in this first paragraph. Good evening. We're excited to share some great news regarding graduation. Sterling Vineyards is now officially confirmed as a venue option. This is a stunning location, and we're thrilled about the opportunity to host such an important celebration in such a beautiful and memorable setting. So it's not official, and I'll talk more about that in my report, but it is an option. And other exciting news, prom is happening this Saturday, April 19th. This year's event promises to be one of the most exciting yet. ASB has put an incredible amount of time and effort to make it special, and we're so proud of the work that they've done. It's shaping up to be a night to remember. As we approach the end of the school year, things are winding down, but the excitement is still very much alive. We're looking forward to wrapping up the year on a high note and celebrating all the accomplishments of the students. And that is her report.
Great, thank you for presenting it. I'm sorry she couldn't be here. So 8.2, Calistoga Associated Teachers, Matthew Godinez, CAT President, will provide a report to the board on new.
Did you skip consent?
Skip consent.
No, it's
I
after.
didn't.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong page.
Okay.
Sorry.
Happens to us all.
Yes.
We Calistoga Associated Teachers don't have a lot to report. So this might sound redundant, but we want to acknowledge and congratulate our members, Heather Brooks and Katie Coop, for their well-earned Teacher of the Year recognitions. They truly embody the dedication and professionalism that Calistoga teachers bring to work every day and every year. And we also want to acknowledge and congratulate the classified employees of the year, Christine Guadarrama, Jesus Avina, and Maria Azua, because without the hard work and commitment of our classified staff as well, Calistoga Schools would not be the success story that we are. And I personally now, this is just a personal note, I've worked directly with all of those people, either on my teaching team. Christine has been a wonderful asset, supporting me for the past several years in my classroom. Worked directly with Katie Coop in the first grade team, and that she was a great colleague. Taught some of their children. And so I can speak to the fact that they're not just wonderful, hardworking employees, but they're also wonderful parents, caregivers to their families, and just great people overall. So that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We share your sentiments, so it's great to hear your firsthand reports as well. Okay, 8.3, Classified School Employees Association. Do we have?
No report.
8.4, Calistoga Elementary School Principal.
All right, good evening, everyone. With respect to LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, we have scheduled our final release days of the year, and we will be looking at our social emotional learning survey results depending on the grade level. Also in grades 3 through 6, they're going to be preparing for CASP testing and getting that final kind of game plan going before our testing window in May. And then finally, we're also going to be looking at the structured literacy and also looking at supporting and clarifying the screener that we will be required to be giving next year. And that was at the last board meeting. We talked about the vendor that we ended up going with. And then last month, we had structured literacy training for our primary teachers who had not yet completed summer training. And so I'm pleased to report that all of our teachers are caught up on that training. And so it was exciting to get everyone, for lack of a better metaphor, literally on the same page. We do have a teacher returning, so we do know that we are going to have to get him trained in that as well. And so I'll be following up with Chrissy Cotton, who is our Napa County Office of Ed lead in that. And then we also, at the last Lead to Literacy meeting, which is our adjunct duty committee, we started to look at instructional norms and agreements for what we call Tier 1 structured literacy, which Tier 1 is like first instruction for all students. And so we're going to be rolling those out to our primary teachers also during our release days as well. And then finally, I did not put this in my report, but I did want to talk about how at the end of March, a team from Calistoga Joint Unified, we had 2 teachers from Calistoga Elementary, 2 paraeducators from the junior senior high attend CABE, which is the California Association for Bilingual Educators. Last year when we went to CABE, our focus was to look at dual immersion programs and to find out information. CABE beyond that also has a wonderful resources for multilingual learners. And so the focus of our teacher team that went down there is that we are required to have English language professional development, which is research-based and ongoing and addresses both embedded and designated ELD. So one of the things that Marcy Solomon and I did is we attended the 2-day GLAD training, which is a guided language acquisition development. Get a lot of things you have to unpack here. And so we also went to workshops from another professional development called SIOP, which is the Sheltered Instruction Observational Protocol. And so what we'll be doing is we will be reporting back to our leadership team and then figuring out a lead team to start rolling out the training and implementing next year in a small team format to have the goal the following year to roll that out to all staff. With respect to LCAP goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. On March 14th, we ended up swapping. We had to cancel school in November. We ended up taking that minimum day to March 14th. And we did a safety training. And I just want to give a huge thank you to Calistoga Police Department and also Calistoga Fire Department for their support. We did just a very light introduction to some of those roles that staff would have to play in the event of an emergency where we are on campus for an extended period of time. And we're going to use this training to further enhance protocols and support for teachers in those roles. On April 18th, we're going to have our Jogathon. We had really good luck this year with our corporate sponsors, and we are continuing to get corporate sponsors to support this fundraiser for our PTO. This year, we also did our first Jogathon assembly where we unpacked kind of what was going to go on that day. Everyone knows about the water rule, which is if you're tired, drink water. If your foot hurts, drink water. If you need a break, drink water. So we also talked about the pledge sheets and how to fill those out. And then I ended up translating those slides into Spanish. We were able to push those out to all the households to go over that. And it was really neat because this morning we ended up having quite a few kids come in and go, oh, you know what, can I have another pledge form? And so we haven't usually had that. So I think the information is starting to get out there. We also are going to do a unique start to the Jogathon. It's going to be a surprise. So we just put some final planning in on that in our staff meeting. So Jogathon again is going to be this Friday. And this is what we do to kick off Wellness Week. With respect to LCAP goal number 3, parent engagement and enhancing communication. This year we had right before spring break, our Yosemite packing meeting. It was well attended. And our trip is going to be taking place the first week of May. This is a little bit of a different approach. In the past, we used to do it all together with registration, and we thought that having the packing trip a little closer to the trip would be a little more relevant to our families. And so it was nice to be able to focus in on what they should bring. And sometimes there's items on the form that we get from NatureBridge that they really don't need. So we could kind of narrow down because we don't want to put on a family the thought that they have to go out and buy a whole bunch of camping gear, which they don't need. And then finally, I just want to extend gratitude to our Calistoga Elementary parents for their support of the Jogathon. We had one of the big lifts that we have to do is putting together mailing for getting our corporate sponsors. And we had parents through our parent engagement group who came in one morning and they spent about 2 hours going through and preparing, I think, like 300 envelopes for businesses. Because of that support, we got our letters out like the earliest ever. And I think that transitioned really nicely into corporate support. And so it's been, and we also are getting parents to sign up to take shifts for the jogathon, and we're coming up with a plan of how to, mark the tally cards for students. So that concludes our report for tonight. Are there any questions?
Thank you. And next up, we have Monica Baldonegro, CJSHS Principal.
Good evening. In regards to LCAP Goal 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, Calistoga Junior Senior High School will be on a modified bell schedule for next week, 4/21 through 4/24 for CASP testing. The modified schedule will allow for students to report to their CAP advisory period at the start of each day for 2 hours from 8:20 to 10:20. Students in grades 7, 8, and 11 will take the CASP with their CAP advisory teachers, which will allow for a smaller test setting. Students in grades 9, 10, and 12 will engage in other planned presentations and activities with their CAP advisory grade level. Some of the confirmed presenters include Mona Leonardi, who will provide information about fentanyl awareness, Napa County District Attorney's Office with information on human trafficking, Bite of Reality with an interactive financial awareness activity, and a career fair separate from Bite of Reality. This is an adjustment and transition for our school community with the goal of creating improved testing environments and to diversify the learning experiences for our students. During the Calistoga Junior Senior High School PLC meetings, we have placed a school-wide focus on reviewing the standard of supporting a claim with evidence. In grade level teams, teachers are reviewing and sharing student work that demonstrates the use of evidence to support a claim. This also includes sharing strategies and techniques that resulted in student work and demonstrates those who have mastered the standard, almost mastered the standard, and those who have not yet mastered the standard. In regards to LCAP Goal 2, provide a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. Calistoga Junior Senior High School is planning 4 days of targeted activities that will support wellness for our students. As I've shared, the non-testers in grades 9, 10, and 12 will engage in several activities, providing exposure to non-traditional learning experiences. Additionally, our site has developed a weekly intervention MTSS meeting to review and discuss the intervention process at our site and how it can be improved and streamlined with ARIES tools. During the month of March, our students completed the SEL or California Healthy Kids Survey. The results of these surveys will be reviewed to determine targeted supports for specific students and to determine what trends are occurring and how they can be addressed. In regards to LCAP Goal 3, increase parent engagement and enhance communication. We held the 6th grade parent night on Tuesday, March 25th, and reviewed with parents and students about the transition from elementary to middle school. Additionally, we held our annual open house on Thursday, April 3rd, right before spring break. Before the start of open house, we hosted the 8th grade students and parents to review the expectations for high school. Sober Grad continues to meet to organize the end of year festivities for graduates, and administration attends to answer questions and support the fundraising efforts. Additionally, I attended the last Sober Grad meeting and plan to be present for this Wednesday Sober Grad meeting, where we will again review the graduation locations, where it looks like we have narrowed it down to 2 potential locations, Logby Field and Sterling Vineyard. I know it's going to be a really tough discussion. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 8.6, Director of Facilities, Maintenance and Operations. And tonight we have Ray Green from Van Pelt providing a report to the board on new and ongoing topics pertaining to this department.
Evening, board members, Superintendent Pittman, and members of the community. I'm glad you announced it because I'm sure people would have noticed that I am not Chris Oakes. Although I could never fill Chris's shoes, I do know what's happening on your board project. So that's all I will be updating you on tonight. We'll start with this campus. The STEM project is progressing towards completion in May. That project will finish on time. Moves are scheduled to take place this summer with those classrooms and that new building being occupied the 25-26 school year. We have a classroom modernization project coming up this summer. That leaseback entity selection is complete. That's on the agenda tonight, the recommendation of the board. That project is DSA approved, and it is scheduled to start day 1 of summer and complete prior to the next school year. The field project contractor is in the early stages of mobilization. That project is in DSA right now. We have our first round of comments from DSA. We're addressing those, and we're going to resubmit those, and hopefully as soon as we get a permit for that project from DSA approval, we'll start that project. That contractor is ready to go. The CEQA process is on the agenda tonight to complete that process associated with that project as well. Moving to the elementary school, we have the TK project. That project is submitted to DSA and it is submitted to CGS. People tell me I'm really bad with acronyms. That's Department of State Architects. I'm sure you folks are aware of that, but CGS is California Geological Survey. They have to approve the soil mitigation that we have to do for that project. It's very complex. That project, as stated, we're submitted to those. We don't have our first round of comments from DSA. We have one round of comments from CGS. We're hoping very soon we'll either get our second round of comments from CGS or approval. There's a second lease amendment on the agenda tonight for that project that'll let us get a head start on some of the offsite work. And we'll have to come back to the board with a third lease amendment that'll encompass the entire project cost, the hard cost for that project. District-wide, we have a generator project that's in the permitting process with Bay Area Air Quality Management District. If you live within 1,000 feet of any of the campuses, you'll get a mailer that tells you we're putting generators in. And as soon as that project is approved by Bay Area Air Quality Management District, we'll determine how we're going to deliver that project. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for coming out and thanks for the report. Okay, 8.7, Director of Educational Services and Human Resources.
Okay, we're excited to have our students and staff back from spring break. We're recharged. We're ready for the final part of the school year. We are in what I affectionately call state testing season. We have a high percentage of English learner students that we support. That also means we have a high number of summative LPAC tests that we give every spring. And so that's about 180 summative LPAC tests. I think this is the most complex state test, really one of the most complex tests we give. Some of it can be done whole group, but for all grade levels, parts of it need to be done individually with one tester per student. So it's a labor intensive process to complete this test. And we're I think done. I think we have maybe 2 more to complete, but kudos to our assessment team finishing efficiently and finishing early this year. The results will be available in August, and we use those results to judge student progress towards English proficiency, the effectiveness of our program, and then those results also enable us to determine which students are ready to reclassify to English proficiency in the fall. We're getting ready to start our CASP testing in late April, and as a reminder, our students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 will take ELA and math tests, and then grades 5, 8, and 11 will take our CAST test, which is science. Students in the other grades, we do the MAP test so that we're doing something to gauge their progress. Our CASP tests don't come back until our results don't come back until October. So once we get them, then we'll distribute them and judge, progress based on those. We also completed our student wellness surveys prior to the break. We're going to leave those open this week. We didn't get the participation numbers that we wanted, so we're going to keep that open for 1 more week and hope that we can get our participation numbers up. But those are important surveys. The SEL survey, it helps us identify students who are in need of additional support and really get a gauge for how all students are progressing with their social emotional development, but also identify those students who need support. And then the Healthy Kids Survey, which is an anonymous survey, that data does help us evaluate the overall culture and healthiness of our campuses. And then we continue to plan for our summer program. It's big and it's an ongoing process. We need about 60 summer staff employees. So it's about 50% of our regular staffing. And so we judge how many staff internally we can find to fill those positions, how many we need to go out and find. We're pretty much 95% fully staffed at this point, which is nice in April. So we have a couple more to fill, but we're in good shape for staffing for summer. We're getting ready to send out the professional development survey. I'll probably send that out this week to get staff input on professional development needs. I think we have a pretty good idea of what our priorities are for professional development. We know what our ongoing programs are. We really like to stick with professional development initiatives and trainers, individuals, long-term, rather than kind of bouncing year to year from topic to topic. So we know where we're heading for professional development, but it's still good to go out and find what else staff need, and are there ways we can support staff when they say, I need support in a particular area. And then lastly, last week, I attended a half-day meeting with the County Office of Ed on AB 665, which was interesting. And I wanted to share a little bit of what it was about. It has to do with minor consent for mental health services who are Medi-Cal eligible. And so since 2010, there's been a law in the state of California that says that if your child is 12 years old or older, they can consent to outpatient mental health treatment, right? And other medical care. But that law only applied to private medical insurance. And so what they've done with this new law is saying, we're going to extend that privilege to students who receive Medi-Cal care. And I think that is really important for us, because we have a lot of mental health therapy happening on our campuses through Mentis, through Aldea. And so now those students who are 12 years old or older and receiving Medi-Cal can consent themselves to care. So I think this is an interesting issue, but one thing it does do is it's going to expand access to care for our kids, which I think is a good time now more than ever. And that's my report.
Any questions?
Question about the survey that you're going to extend through this week. Is that all grade levels, or, I mean, obviously maybe not TK and kindergarten?
No, it's not. It's the Healthy Kids Survey. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's our principals probably know better than I do. It's specific grade levels for the Healthy Kids Survey.
Okay.
You guys know, you want to
Fifth.
chime in?
Fifth grade.
Only fifth grade?
I think it's fifth, seventh, and ninth.
Did get a results report that we sent emails out to I sent emails to the teachers asking for them to,
Got it. Okay.
it's a friendly reminder.
Yeah, and I apologize that I don't know the grades off the top of my head.
But for
yeah.
elementary, it's definitely only fifth grade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, one thing we've tried to do this year, there's a lot happening when it comes to surveys and assessments this time of year. And so one thing we did, I think, that's been really helpful is we mapped those out. We have an assessment calendar that not only has the state assessments, but it has all our surveys that we're doing. I think this year we actually had a couple unanticipated surveys that got added to the mix. So that maybe complicated some things, but I think this is going to be a work in progress. When we have surveys, we have to have high completion rates. Healthy Kids Survey in particular, I think needs 70% completion rate to be considered valid. And so it's essential. So, we worked with the county to extend the Healthy Kids Survey date. We have unilateral control over the SEL survey, so we extended that. And so it is what it is, and we'll work to complete those. But as an ongoing goal, we need to prioritize survey completion, because if we're going to take the time to give surveys and value the results, we have to have high completion.
Thank you, Michael. That brings us to 8.8, Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. My first thing that I wanted to talk about was what Kenya brought up, graduation. So I did want to communicate that, I think it was, was it at the March meeting that she requested? So at the March board meeting, she requested that we as a district go out to wineries and reach out and ask. She actually took it upon herself to send cold call emails, in essence, to various wineries within Calistoga. And she got a response from Sterling. And so the response from Sterling was twofold. One is they really want to make this happen for us. They are willing to do this at no cost. So it is something that I wanted to communicate and that we're communicating to our families as well. And they wanted to do this at no cost for a multitude of reasons. One is to give back to the Calistoga community. They're in Calistoga. Their ties to Calistoga run very deep, and they have current staff members who either graduated from Calistoga and or their children come to our schools. And so this is a way for them to give back. So they are working with us to work with Napa County. We actually have to apply for a permit and a special event. So nothing is finalized and nothing is official at this point, but we are moving through the process should the parents and the students decide that this is the opportunity that they want to take. So we're excited that a local winery has the space and wants to provide an opportunity for us to do this for us free of charge. It's down next to the parking lot. Yeah, so they have an open field right next to the parking lot. It's a very similar in terms of square footage to our football field. And so we'd be able to do a very similar setup. It's surrounded by trees. It's a very beautiful venue. No gondolas. No gondolas, no. Flat footed. You could take the Vine Trail there if you wanted to, walk, ride your bike, and you'll land right there. Yes. I received a request from a community member to have the gym here at the junior senior high school named in honor of Duffy. And so our current board policy has conflicting statements. One statement is that we need to bring together a committee, and another is if it's a memorial, we can make a decision. So I'm working to find out what is the actual answer. So regardless of one of those answers, whether it is a formal committee or me presenting the option, we will be discussing whether or not we want to rename the gym to honor Mr. Duffy, who has given to the Calistoga community in a multitude of ways. But obviously his name is on the annual basketball tournament that we do every year. And so him and his family have given back tremendously to basketball and to our school district. And so a community member, Rose Beck, came and asked if this is something to honor Mr. Duffy. And so more information will be coming, but I did want to give you a heads up. Next week is Wellness Week. And so we have something planned through Rosa as our wellness coordinator every day. Monday is Movement Monday. And so we will have a yoga/bar class at 4:00 in the gym being taught by our very own Haley Perugian. Tuesday is Trail Tuesday. So we're going to go to Both Park. So Bothay. Thank you. We're going to do a trail hike on Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday is Wind Down Wednesday, and we haven't picked our location yet. Thursday is Thankful Thursday, so it's an opportunity for all staff members to show what we are grateful for. And then Friday is Foodie Friday. So this will be the third year that we have done a week-long wellness week with staff, and so we're excited to have this next week. Next week, we're also participating, myself as well as the two vice principals will be participating in the Napa County Train the Trainers Emergency Response Training. I've talked about this previously. This is in essence the big five that we've done. The county is coming together to narrow it down to 3. And it will be countywide, all schools, all emergency response teams. And so we're being trained as trainer of trainers. Then August, when we come back, we will train the rest of our staff. For Transcend, our team is continuing to work specifically around our vision statement, tagline, and learner outcomes. And so we as a team have narrowed down our vision statement to 4 possible options, and we're going to narrow that down to 2. And then in May, we're going to send 2 vision statements and 2 taglines to staff, students, and families to see what we want to land on as we move forward with a new vision statement for our school district. And then we've called it learner outcomes, but I went to visit some schools that had done some similar work. And in terms of naming it, we're probably going to shift, and it's not going to be called some schools call it graduate outcomes. I didn't really want to call it that because I feel like we really need to have a conversation about what this means at every grade level, that you don't just end up in high school and you're there. There are things that are occurring in our classrooms from TK all the way up through 12th grade. And so we're actually probably going to call it the path of a wildcat. So what does it take to be on our path as a wildcat through our school district? Just a reminder that this week is every 15 minutes. I'm not going to go into details, but it is Thursday. There will be a notice that goes out to all of our families so that they know that this is a drill and it is not real. And then our 7th and 8th graders will be off site on Friday or Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday, because it's meant just for 9th through 12th. It's here on Lake Street. So the street will be closed. You might see some things. There'll be a touchdown out on the baseball field. So it's a big event. And then the assembly will be on Friday. And so if you are available and you want to come to the assembly, Monica, what time?
Schedule.
We'll let you know what time on Friday. I'm excited to share, we've started our next round of PK. And so we kicked it off. Coincidentally, it was on the Thursday that we had the 8th grade parent night and the open house. But we had close to 50 parents sign on, even though we knew that more were here in the 8th grade parent night as well as open house. So we know the numbers are going to go up. And this year our focus is on civic engagement. So we're pretty excited about that. And then finally, I'll be working on a letter to add our name to for TK funding. A new assembly bill is coming through, Assembly Bill 1391. As you know, TK is a requirement of school districts, but community funded districts like ours do not receive extra funding. And so we end up pulling from the same pot to add another grade level. And so what this bill will do is provide a funding mechanism so that community funded schools actually get the funding to offer the new additional grade, which we've been doing for several years. But if this goes through, it definitely helps from a financial standpoint. And that's what I have.
I do have an update on the assembly. So the assembly on Thursday will be about 2:04 to 2:56. That will be in front of the school. And then Friday, the 18th, excuse me, it will be from 11:26 to 12:16 in the big gym.
Back.
Yes, we have a modified schedule.
Thank you for your report. That brings us to item 9, consent agenda. Consent agenda protocols. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. And the recommended action is a request to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? And we now need a roll call vote. President Rothberg Allen is absent. Clerk Reed, aye. Trustee Lopez Jones, Trustee Rios, Trustee Gonzalez, and Student Representative Clavel is absent. So item 10, action items. 10.1, action item protocol. Protocol for action items includes a staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. 10.2, Measure A bond audit report and letter for 2023-24. Dr. Pittman.
So on November 2nd of 2010, our community approved our bond for $42 million. It was to renovate and improve Calistoga schools. The purpose of the bond is we hired Christie White and Associates. They audit our bond expenditures, ensuring that what we're spending that bond money on matches the language from the actual bond language, as well as that we're meeting our performance standards. There were no findings on the financial side, nor on the performance side of the audit, meaning we're spending the money on what we're supposed to be spending it on. So we're recommending that you approve the bond audit report and letter as presented.
All in favor? Aye. 10.3, Measure B bond audit report and letter for 2023-24.
So this was our second bond that we passed on November 8th of 2022. This was a $41 million bond. And yes, same thing. They audit the bond to determine that we are spending the money on the things that were listed in the bond language. And again, no findings on the financial side nor the performance side of the audit. So we're recommending approval of the bond audit report letter as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, 10.4, Resolution 24-25-13, Staff Appreciation Week.
So each year we celebrate, instead of celebrating 2 separate weeks, we combine it and celebrate 1 week to bring all of us together since we are a small family community. So Resolution 23-24-09 states, whereas May 5th through May 9th of 2025 is designated Teacher Appreciation Week, and whereas May 18th through May 24th is designated as Classified Employee Appreciation Week, the Board of Trustees of the Calistoga Joint Unified School District recognizes that it is the work, skill, and dedication of staff which makes the difference for children. It is only fitting that the Board of Trustees and all others who benefit from the efforts of staff recognize the vital work that they do. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby joins in recognizing Calistoga Joint Unified School District employees during the district Staff Appreciation Week, designated as May 5th through May 9th, 2025, and commends all employees for their outstanding efforts on behalf of our students. So we ask that the board approve the resolution.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, 10.5, approval of addendum to Brookwood Partners Independent Contractor Agreement and authorization to pursue development entitlement of the Gallus property.
So I'm going to hand it over to both of you or just you, Chris? Okay, so we have Chris here from Brookwood. This is the firm that we hired at the beginning of the year to do a feasibility study on whether or not we wanted to investigate workforce housing on the use of the Gallus property. And so they are here to present their findings and recommendations for next steps.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you tonight. Thanks for having us. I'm Chris White, principal with Brookwood Partners, here to give an update on workforce housing. Go to the next slide. So just quick agenda today. I'm going to very briefly introduce Brookwood Partners and talk about some of the experience we have working with school districts on similar projects. I'll give a project progress update and share some results from the employee survey that was conducted. We'll talk about the proposed project strategy and then finally talk about next steps and a project schedule. So just quickly on Brookwood Partners, we are based in the Bay Area. We're a real estate development management company and strategic advisor. We specialize in working with public school districts in California. We have projects and clients all over the state. A lot of people are familiar with our Daly City project, Jefferson Union High School District, 122 units that was built about 3 years ago and has been really successful in helping them attract and retain great educators. We've also entitled 70 units for Pacifica, 60 units we're working on in Half Moon Bay, currently working on 86 units in San Diego. So this is really the type of work that we do. Just going to briefly talk about the site itself, the Gallus property as it's known. It's about 16.5 acres. It's zoned R1 PD and general plan of medium density residential. It's right along Highway 29. So I'll talk about that later in our due diligence findings. It was purchased roughly 20 years ago by the school district in anticipation of a middle school, which didn't materialize. It's been, vacant since then. It's pretty flat and, a good development site within the bounds of the city of Calistoga. This is just really a high level overview of what is involved in a feasibility analysis. So employee housing needs, we're going to talk about that. I have a couple of slides to talk about the results. Physical due diligence, we worked with some consultants, including a biological consultant, civil engineer, et cetera, to study the site itself for, feasibility for housing. We've had some discussions with some departments of the city, planning, public works, fire, et cetera. We've done some conceptual project planning and thinking about the strategy that can best help you maximize this land asset for your workforce housing needs. Jumping into the employee survey results, you have about 120 employees and roughly half of them responded to the survey. It was a mix of certificated and classified. Who responded. 50% response rate is pretty typical for the school districts that we work with. And then again, out of those half who responded, a little more than half expressed some interest in employee housing. So about 33 in total, and that was roughly half certificated and classified. On the right here, we asked about what type of priorities folks would have in thinking about workforce housing. The number one, of course, is the high cost of housing. We have a housing affordability crisis all over the state, and that's the main reason to do it. Second priority is living closer to work. A lot of people have long commutes, and they like to live and feel part of the community that they serve as educators. And then other priorities are, a nicer home, bigger home, more rooms, more parking, et cetera. Down at the bottom here, this is important. This is starting to tell us that you're really on the right path with thinking about workforce housing, because half of the respondents said availability of low-cost housing would influence their decision to continue employment with the district. So in thinking about, the importance of attracting and retaining great educators, they're telling us that affordable housing is a key component to that. support for workforce housing. So this is again, more important data. On the left, how important is it for the district to explore ways to attract and retain employees? Out of all the respondents, even those who don't expect to live there, about 85% say it's at least somewhat important. So your employees recognize that there's a need here. And then specifically with workforce housing, 95%, so almost all of everyone agrees that they would be supportive of workforce housing, even if they don't expect to live there. So this is folks who maybe own their own home or aren't interested in workforce housing and still support the district doing it for their fellow employees. So this is powerful data to confirm that you're really on the right path. Diving a little bit deeper into some of the results here, we're comparing household income levels for all respondents compared to those interested in workforce housing on the right. We can see on the right that it's a lot of classified folks in the low income range who are interested, and then it's a lot of certificated folks who are in the above moderate income range who are interested in workforce housing. And what this really tells us is that despite making above moderate income household income levels, access to affordable housing is still an issue. This is just the last slide on the survey, looking at what type of households would be interested in housing and how many bedrooms. This can help us start to form what type of project program would be most beneficial for your employees. Almost everyone is 2, 3, 4, 5 household people in the household. So not a lot of young single people that are looking for a studio or a 1-bedroom. This is larger, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the household, and they're interested in 2 or 3 bedrooms or more. So that's really useful in thinking about the type of housing that should be proposed on the site. Now moving on to some high-level due diligence findings on the site. The location along Highway 29 is interesting. It's we're exploring whether there could be site access along Highway 29. Worked with a civil engineer, and they advised that reconfiguration of the highway would likely be unrequired. So, adding lanes or turn lanes probably not required by Caltrans, but there could be some sightline issues with the required stopping distance for safety. And so that might dictate where an access point might be. So we've sort of indicated it in blue with the arrow there, where it's likely to be. There's also sort of a slope up to Highway 29 from the site. So that's nice. It provides a nice natural setback from any proposed housing here. Water pressure utilities are interesting to think about. Water pressure might be insufficient, so probably an on-site water tank and pump station will likely be required on the site, so we can plan for that. Extending the sewer main is likely, and then environmental review will be necessary. So CEQA will want to do an initial study to determine the areas of study and what level of detail, what CEQA document will be most appropriate for this type of project. There was a CEQA analysis, a mitigated negative declaration prepared about 20 years ago for that proposed middle school project. And so that's helpful to review to determine, what types of studies might be involved in the CEQA analysis this time around. Thinking about a proposed program and project strategy. So, in talking with stakeholders in the community, it became clear that instead of rental projects where employees may be able to come rent for 5, 7, 9 years, something like that, and then need to move on so you can make way for other employees, it wanted to focus on homeownership so that your employees can really settle into the community for the long term, be long-term participants in the community which they serve. Also, a mix of single-family homes and townhomes is what we're anticipating that would be, respectful to the nature of Calistoga. Trying to focus lot sizes and home types on that will attract full-time residents as opposed to folks who own a home and only visit occasionally. So people who are invested in the community. And then finally, in thinking about the funding approaches, rather than looking for outside funding sources to come in and subsidize workforce housing, we're anticipating market rate housing being part of the site, and then the revenue that's generated from that goes to offset the cost for the workforce employees so that they can be sold to those employees at lower than market rates so that they can afford them and own a home for the long term in the community. Looking at a tiered approach to the workforce housing units that become available, prioritizing school district employees for your staff and faculty. And then there could be, if there are additional workforce units available after that, there could be other kind of missing middle and workforce folks that could perhaps purchase those units. And then thinking about in the long term, after the project is designed and entitled and built and sold to the employees, the district not wanting to be involved in the long-term management and keep it going after that. So the housing land trust model could provide a great opportunity for them to step in, manage, when the way this works is it's sold to an employee, they can live there for as long as they want. And when they're ready to move on, when they want to sell that home, the land trust can step in and facilitate the sale. They evaluate who's kind of eligible as an employee to buy it and what's the appropriate sale price. It's based on how much area median income has grown over time. And so they can handle that for you so that district doesn't need to continue to be involved for the long term, but still receive the benefit for your employees. All right, getting towards the end of the presentation here, I have 2 more slides. This is something a little bit different. In our discussions with the city, they recognize that the city also owns a site in town. It's 2 parcels that total a little more than ½ acre. And the city would like to see this developed and built into missing middle or kind of workforce style housing. They thought, well, if the school district is perhaps pursuing this, maybe there's an opportunity to partner and see if these 2 projects could move forward kind of concurrently. And so they actually went as far to pass a resolution to direct staff to talk with the school district and explore whether a partnership is worth pursuing further. And so that's, a question to you all today. Well, after I finish, we can hear your feedback on that. And, we think it's a good opportunity to align interests with the city. And so I think it would be a good idea to entertain those discussions, but I'm interested in your questions and feedback on that topic tonight. And just lastly, thinking about next steps and the project schedule for getting this done, the idea is to move into the entitlement stage. So that at the end of the process, you have an entitled site, which means the city and everyone who has jurisdiction over the site has approved what is being proposed, and it can move forward into the construction preparing phases. We anticipate, based on similar projects, that it could be about 2 years to go through that process, and it can be done concurrently with declaring the site surplus. So there's a 7-Eleven advisory committee that's prescribed by the state, and those can be done simultaneously, which is what we're showing here with the 7-Eleven committee on the bottom in yellow, and the top being the housing planning process. This doesn't go to the state architect as facilities do. This goes through a normal housing approval process, just like any other housing project. It kicks off with conceptual design. That's really the next step, is to dig deeper into the project design. And once we have that in a place where we can bring it out to the community for engagement meetings, take questions, get feedback, and incorporate what we can from that feedback into the project design. Ultimately, we're putting together a planning application to the city for the departments to review and comment. CEQA, of course, as I mentioned, is an important part of this. We start off with an initial study, determine the areas and the level of detail needed for CEQA documentation. And at the end of that, after all of that process is done, it finally goes before the city planning commission. And if they approve it, then it moves on to the city council. They certify CEQA document and approve the project for for housing, then it's considered entitled. And like I said, you can be going through the 7-Eleven surplus process simultaneously with that. So that's what I had prepared to discuss with you all tonight. Why don't I stop there and see what questions I can answer? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And any questions?
In regards to the city, have they conducted a similar survey of their staff? Have they assessed their needs? Do you know?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, not in terms of offering to their employees. We're obviously much farther along than the city is. I think they recognize that and they are looking at, from what I understand, these two plots were up for being developed at the same time that the homes on Lincoln. And they could only do one, so they opted for Lincoln. And so this is sitting there and they are hoping to recognize that there is still missing middle, that they have met the majority of the quantity of homes for low income in the community. I think they need like 7 more homes before 2030. And so they are actually looking for ways to develop the middle income home environment. And so that's why they thought, well, if you're moving along with this project, this is an opportunity where maybe we could partner to think about what how we can support each other in terms of cost and in terms of design and in terms of time. Nothing that says that what we do is permanently tied to theirs, but that it would be an opportunity for us to have similar conversations and capitalize on the work that one and both of us are doing.
So that was going to be my next questions. In terms of cost, I mean, from your experience, have you ever done anything like that before? A combined project? Is there a lot of savings?
I think
Benefit?
it would be just, the next steps would just be really exploratory, just talking about how it could be structured and if there could be savings in terms of cost or time. I think we'd know a lot more after a few more discussions with them on that. And I think, I think they haven't totally landed on exactly who would be, if it would be their own city employees living there or other missing middle from the community or perhaps employees of the school district. I think that's all sort of up for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So what else I wanted to say was twofold. One is we're bringing this to you as a recommendation to move forward through the entitlement process. And the reason being is because if we go through the entitlement process as a school district, one, we're partnering with the city. It's us saying that this is a need that we have. We want to partner with the community. And by us going through the entitlement process, when we end up selling the property to a developer, we've removed the risk for them. So therefore, we'll get more money in the long run. Because the risk is removed, the entitlements are already granted. They know if they buy the property, they can move forward with the actual design. And we can also set limitations. So the idea that a minimum of 20% of the units would be allocated to workforce housing for us, we can only do that if we move forward with this entitlement process, because there are requirements from the city when any developer builds homes. But if we don't go through the entitlement process, then they still have risk and they can easily say, we're not going to do any of that because it's not cost effective for us.
Okay, with no further questions, we have the recommendation to approve the addendum as presented.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is that the finances for this comes out of Fund 40, which is capital outlay. So it's not out of our general fund. It's specifically capital outlay, which is used for items like this.
So can we get a motion? Right. Great. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
10.6, board policies and administrative regulations. Michael.
Yeah, we bring some board policy and admin regulations related to Title IX that were brought to you in March for a first read. They're brought back here unchanged for approval.
So the request is to approve the board policies and administrative regulations as presented. All in favor? Aye. Okay, 10.7, reclassification for English proficiency parent form.
So we're bringing an updated reclassification form to you for approval, and I need to walk through some of the changes because there's two changes. One is significant. The California Department of Education has revised their rules around reclassification of special education students. The state used to allow districts to create their own processes to reclassify special education students, which we have done. The state has changed their decision on that and is now requiring that there be a consistent process to reclassify special education students throughout the state. And it's understandable that there would be a desire to have consistency in practice. And that requirement now includes that all special education students either achieve the same as their general education peers, level 4, the highest level on the LPAC, or a 3, the highest level on the alternative LPAC if they're severely disabled. That's about 1% of our population. Then they're also required to pass a basic skills test. We have now combined the special education and general education reclassification forms and made sure that they're compliant with this change in guidance from the CDE. I just say that what we should be prepared for is that, unfortunately, this is going to result, I think, in an increased disproportionate number of special education students who remain English learners, because that LPAC test is hard. Not just on a language basis, but there's a cognitive load. And if a student is severely handicapped with a learning disability, that's why we had the other processes, because we could say as a team, we know the student, and the student's inability to achieve on the English language proficiency test is due to their severe disability, not their language ability. So it's unfortunate. I think all districts are experiencing this. The CDE has expressed concern around that disproportionality and expressed a concern around inconsistent practices, and they've chosen a path. But I do fear that it's going to result. I'm pretty confident for us and other districts in an increase in the disproportionality and a decrease in reclassification rates. Nevertheless, we will be compliant with the law, and so we've made a form that's compliant. The second change that we made is that 2 years ago, the state released a new process called the Optel, which is a 3-page form for teachers to use as a guide when the general education teacher signs off on the reclassification form to say the student is ready to be reclassified. It's a 3-page document that they walk through to guide their decision-making process. And last year, the state said, we recommend that you use this. And this year they said, we strongly recommend that you use this. And we're thinking that next year or at some time in the future, they're going to say you are required to use this form. I've been somewhat reluctant. I've shared it with some staff, but I've been reluctant to move forward because it's a lengthy document. It's a 3-page document that we need to do for all our reclassifications. So instead, what we've done here is we've taken kind of the far column of that document. The document says the part of the document that says, I recommend because of the following, and we've just added all of that to the reclassification form. So we have a longer reclassification form, but I think that's better than having a reclassification form and an additional 3-page document. So these are the two changes that you see in this on this reclassification form, becoming compliant with having one form for special education students that has the new criterion, and then also adding the elements of the Optel to the teacher recommendation portion.
Okay, so staff recommends approval of the reclassification for English proficiency form as presented. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Galileo Learning Agreement.
So we had heard the request from our summer school principal at the elementary school and her stakeholders to add some STEM-based learning to the summer program. We then searched for curriculum providers that could provide that. We found a high-quality curriculum provider in Galileo Learning. So we are excited to add this to our summer program. Our students will now have an experience not just of English and math and the other electives we've had or other specials we've had. There will now be a STEM learning, and it's going to have a lot of collaborative learning involved in our elementary program. So I think this makes our program better, and it fulfills the need that we had identified of adding STEM or STEAM to our summer program.
And the recommendation is approval of the agreement with Galileo Learning as presented.
I just have a couple questions, based on the contract that's attached. So the overall cost is 16,000. 2,000 of that is shipping, 2,000 of that is handling, warehouse packing, and then 4,000 is for professional development. So that's half of the cost goes towards shipping, handling, and training. And then the other half is for the curriculum itself. I guess my question is, are they shipping us massive equipment that requires large shipping and handling bills, or what's leading to this astronomical cost?
Well, I can appreciate the question. And I can share with you that I had the same exact question when I read the quote. And I talked with Maureen, our Director of Business Services, and we both looked at it and kind of scratched our head a little bit. And then we reached out to the provider and said, we'd like to schedule a meeting. And actually, the original quote, the way it was written, it didn't have, it was like shipping, handling, professional development were lumped into one category. So we really couldn't decipher it. And so we met with them, and prior to meeting them with them, we actually looked at some comparable contracts. They have a contract with St. Helena School District. We looked at that contract to understand that was this unique to us, or is just this how they're, this is their pricing, right? And we did find consistency with St. Helena's contract. And they're not sending us massive equipment. They're not sending us 3D printers, but what they are sending us isn't textbooks. It's small materials that are used in project making for a large number of students. And so those are hand placed into packaging, and then those are shipped, right? We did still after that explanation express some concern, which is why they've marked that professional development down $2,000 to give some sort of cost break based on our concern. That's as far as they could go. So we do have the funding through ELOP to purchase this curriculum. We do have the support from the state to say, go forth, offer high quality summer programming and extended learning programming to your students. So we can fund this. I suppose at the end of the day, my thinking is, the proof is in the pudding, right? Let's purchase this curriculum. Let's implement it this year, and let's see if it really changes the nature of the student learning experience. Is it worth that much? And if it is, it is. And if it isn't, then we need to reevaluate it.
So just to clarify, what I think I heard you said in terms of the handling is that these are not, it's not like I'm going on to Amazon and buying something from Amazon and it's already in a box and they're shipping it to me. They are creating these individual packets. And so that's one of the reasons why that portion is that high. That's their statement.
Yep, that's correct. So unlike Scholar Zone from Scholastic Learning, which we also purchased for summer, those are kind of prepackaged kits that are the same for every district. There's 15 or there's 20, depending on the curriculum. They're all packaged in a warehouse. There's thousands and thousands of them, and they ship them out, right? They identify what program you've chosen, because there's multiple programs you can choose from. Which iteration did you choose? Then they have a team that takes the supplies, hand packs them, and then ships them.
So would this be a curriculum that we can continually use, or will this cost be incurred every summer school session?
No, I think it would be an annual charge. I don't think this is reusable curriculum per se, because they're going to be building like physical projects. Those projects could potentially go home to families as a built project, but I think the majority of the curriculum is usable, is consumable, versus like a textbook that could be used on an annual basis.
Any further discussion before we vote? Um,
Yeah, that name's gonna escape me, but no, this is not associated with that company. This is a total separate company. Really? Yeah. Hmm. Right. I know. I can't remember either. I'll remember as soon as I leave.
So can we get a motion to approve the agreement? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, 10.9, resolution 24-25-14, authorization of CEQA ISMND.
So this is for our field improvement project. We hired an environmental consulting firm, PlaceWorks, to conduct a CEQA environmental review. Based on the firm's analysis of the project, they're recommending a mitigated negative declaration. And so an initial study environmental impact report was prepared pursuant to CEQA. And so we're recommending that you approve the resolution for a mitigated negative declaration.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, 10.10, contract with Tenkate
So this is Tenkati.
and Kadi, thank you.
And they are the company that we have chosen to install our artificial turf and track in the new field. It's what's called a CMAS, California Multiple Award Schedule. So the prices are set by the state of California. And so there wasn't going back and forth. This is just what's set for any new field that's going to use these types of materials. And so Tenkati is the company that we have hired to actually install the field and the new track. So we're asking that you approve the contract.
All in favor? Aye. 10.11, contract with Nino and Moore for the CJSHS Field Improvements Project.
So we have to have inspections anytime we do a project. These are for special inspections, specifically related to the field. We've used Nino and Moore before. We use them on the STEM project. And so they put in a quote for this. And so we're asking to approve the contract with them. It's including but not limited to soil compaction test, inspection of cast in place concrete, concrete batch plant inspection, and then inspection of the steel fabrication.
All in favor? Aye. 10.12, lease amendment number 2 for CES TK Building Project.
So this is the second part that Ray talked about in terms of working with Landmark on the next phase of our TK building. This will allow us to start doing some off-site work, which includes connecting us to a new fire hydrant, bringing in those types of things that are outside of the actual facility. And so that will give them a head start on moving the project along. So we're asking that you approve this lease agreement.
All in favor? Aye. 10.13, contract with Todd Stanton.
So this is for regular inspections for DSA, also for the field. So we have regular inspections and then we have special inspections, and they're all required by DSA in order for us to actually get final approval on our projects. And so we're asking the board to approve the contract with Todd Stanton for DSA Class 1 inspection for the field.
All in favor? Aye. 10.14, contract with John Stocksdale for CES TKK Building IOR services.
So before I move on to that, I do want to say with that approval, we are now officially moving forward with our field at the
Woohoo.
junior senior high school. So 10.14 is a contract with John Stocksdale, which is the regular inspection services for the new TKK building. So we're asking that you approve this contract.
Favor? Aye. 10.15, contract with LLB for CJS HS classroom modernization.
So as Ray talked about, we are on the down home stretch for the STEM building. Pretty exciting. They are on target to finish on time. And what that means is staff members will move into that building over the summer, and we will have 4 classrooms that need to be modernized. So this is the project to actually modernize the existing 4 classrooms to turn them into quote unquote traditional classrooms, and 1 SDC class for our new special day program here at the junior senior high school. And so we're asking that you approve the contract with FRC to work on the modernization for this summer. It's 3. It's the 2 science and the 1 quote unquote black box ACE space. And then the 4th is room 35, which is Mr. Grove's science classroom. That'll be converted as well.
All in favor? Aye.
Who seconded? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to 11, closing items. 11.1, board member reports.
I was able to spend some time at both campuses just a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to say thank you to both site principals for spending the days with me. I was able to go into every single classroom on both sites, which was, I know took a lot of time out of your day, but I did appreciate being able to check in with all the teachers and staff and students. I will say that based on my comparison from my last shadow specifically here at the junior senior high school, phone usage is down quite a bit, which was great to see. So I like the cell-free zone. I think the policy is working and students are paying attention to it. So I really appreciated seeing that. Both the study session that we had and the circle talks that we had, if I'm honest, I was disheartened after both of them by lack of involvement from interested parties. It was tough for me to sit there and not have, our interested stakeholders be fully represented. And just be there to have a discussion or to listen to thoughts, concerns, feelings, and opinions. So that was a bit disheartening, but again, at the circle talk, we did have a good representation of parents. And I really appreciated the time that they took to come and talk to us about their concerns, their questions, their supportive remarks, their, concerned remarks. I just appreciated the time and effort that they took to be there and share that with the board. And I think that's it for me.
I just had a couple. I went to the open house, which was great, really lovely event. So thanks for putting that on. And it's always fun to see what everybody is up to over here. And then also, I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Lovi, the new structures over there, and that was really great. And I think, I was here at the meeting at which I wasn't aware that it was happening, but Adelante was formed, and so it's amazing to see how, successful that group has been, and I look forward to seeing what else they contribute to this community. So, it's really exciting, so that was really neat. All right. It was kind of shocking when they said how much the project cost, and I looked around and said, okay, that's something. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. All right, so 11.2 board meeting calendar. Next meeting is Monday, May 5th. 6 o'clock here for open session. And then we have 2 in June, Monday, June 2nd at 6 here, and Monday, June 16th at 6 here. 11.3 tentative future agenda items include the LCAP survey results and next steps. 11.4, there's no need to reconvene a closed session. And therefore no need for 11.5 to report action taken in closed session. So that brings us to 11.6 adjourned meeting. All in favor? All right. Hi, yes. Thank you, Michael.